Alright, I thought we'd make a video about setting up an Alexa skill. So, from scratch. This is basically going through the tutorial. I'm going to kind of wing it. I'm not going to look at the tutorial document. So I already know the links that I need to go to. I'm going to need to go into my AWS console. This is Amazon Web Services. I guess you can get there with just sign in, or AWS. Probably you can just get there by aws.amazon.com. I'm guessing that's the same thing. Oops. And Amazon Web Services is where we're going to create the actual Python code that is going to be, what is really happening, the logic behind our skill. You're going to have to create an AWS account before you do this. Of course, you see in the document that you have to create the account. When you do that, you do have to provide a credit card number, but you're very unlikely to get charged because there are free tier limits. So you can take a look at the free tier details. And we are going to be making a little, let's see, lambda. Yeah, 1,000,000 free requests per month. So every time you call this function, that's a request. You're not going to hit 1,000,000 in a month because what's the number of seconds in a month? We got 60 seconds per minute and 60 minutes per hour times 24 times 31. Yeah, so that is only, well, it's 2,000,000. So it would have to happen once every few seconds for that to happen. That's just not going to happen. 3.2 million seconds of compute time per month. Well, we just saw that number is, so you'd have to be computing basically continuously to run out of your free tier. That's not going to happen either. So unless you really try to go overboard, you're not going to. And I think that's AWS Lambda is the only thing we're going to use. The Alexa skills themselves are free. This Python service managed, by AWS Lambda is not, but there's a large free tier. Not in general, but yeah, it's effectively free. So, after you've created the account, you log in. So let's do that. All right, I'm going to select my account, log in, make sure it's got the right password. I use a password manager. All right, so let's first of all create we need a lambda function. So search for lambda. That's one way to get to it. You can also browse. And I've got this hello world. Let's create a new function. I'm going to author it from scratch. The existing role. Now this is often kind of confusing how roles work, but I think we just need to create one from templates, and the template can just be Alexa. No, what is it going to be? What did I tell you to pick? I have to take a look at these. Basic edge lambda. I'm forgetting. We'll figure that out in a second. I'm going to put the name in, let's say, test Alexa test skill. This will be Python 2.7. You can pick, and let's see, create a custom role. Let's do that. Yeah, I think that's what we want to do. And that brings us to this IAM management console, which is a little confusing to work with. But what we're doing is giving the permissions that are required. Remember, we've logged into our account. This is logging in under our name. And so what is this thing allowed to do? Because it's possible that your skill or this function could try to access external resources like that could cost you money, right? So you need to, if something went wrong, if somebody were to somehow run your code or could be run in such a way that could access some Amazon resources that could end up costing money, you wouldn't want that to happen. So yeah, lambda basic execution, and basically this is giving it the minimum possible permissions, or very limited permissions. It's allowing to log things, which means that every time it runs, it will write a log of any errors that occur or whether it occurred successfully, and I'll show you how to take a look at that. That's useful information. So yeah, we're just going to use this basic lambda basic execution for now. If you want to make a more complicated skill in the future that needs to access an external database of some sort, then I can show you how to do that. You can ask. So we have created one lambda basic execution. That's what we're going to use. We created the custom role and chose the defaults, and that's lambda basic execution. We don't need anything special. Okay, so create it. Great, it's been successfully created. Now, this is new. This is a little bit different from what you saw in the presentation. So we need to add a trigger, and we can do that by selecting from here Alexa Skills Kit. Configuration is going to be required. So that happens down here. It's asking for a skill ID. So in order to go further, we are going to have to log into Alexa, Amazon Alexa skill development. Alexa, stop. She hears her name and goes crazy. All right. Build skills with the Alexa Skills Kit. So you can find that pretty easily. Sign in. Yep, that's the account I want. I'm going to go to my skills. And let's create that skill. All right, add a new skill. Test skill will be the name. Test skill will be the invocation name. That's what the user is going to say. So when I say Alexa, test skill or open test skill, that is what is going to, that's how we're going to invoke this. Audio player, does it skill use audio player directives? No, because we're not going to like play music or some MP3. Video, I've not worked with video yet, but there's some new devices that can play some video on them. We're definitely not going to be doing that. Does it use render template directives? I don't even know what that means. Guess we can learn more. Huh, I don't know what it is. Take a look if you're interested. But we're not going to do any of those things. We're going to make them very most basic. We're also going to use a custom interaction model. Sometimes, smart home, that's for things like smart light bulbs and flash briefing. That is a specific type of skill where it tells you, like, reads the news to you. Those you can pick from some APIs that help you. I mean, custom, you can do anything that you can do down here, but these probably help you set it up a little bit faster. I don't know what the video skill API looks like, but we're going to use the custom interaction model for a very general voice skill. I believe that you can definitely do a flash briefing with a custom interaction model, or at least something similar. You can get the same behavior. All right, so we saved, and then let's click next. Okay, so intent schema. This is where we're going to enter in the sorts of things that that our skill supports. So let's do just the basic things right now, or just one intent right now. I think we're required to have at least one intent, even though technically you could just have a launch request which has no intent. You have to have some sort of intent. So let's take a look. If I don't remember what to do, it says for more information, see intent schema. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to the documentation. I'm going to look for the JSON. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. So let's just let's just copy and paste this. We remember that this is what it looks like, right? So we can copy and paste this and then edit it. Okay, what should our intent be? Test intent. Okay, is it going to take any slots? Sure. Sure, let's have a slot that's called value. Type, let's see, I want it to take in a number. Built-in slots, built-in intents. So built-in slots, remember that a number is a slot, so I'm just going to look that up. Amazon dot, it's a number. Oh, maybe this isn't the page that I want. Oh yeah, that just brought me straight to here. I want example literal slot, built-in intent, custom slot. No, I don't want a custom slot. I want a built-in slot. Amazon dot built-in intent library. Where's the built-in slots? Amazon dot number is what it's called. Maybe I clicked on the wrong thing. Built-in slots. Looks like this is not bringing me to the right place because I know there's a different page for this. Using built-in intents and slot types. There we go. All right, see here on the left? I think that that's a bad link. So let's take a look at that. Implement the built-in intents. That's not what we want. We want the slot type reference. That's what we really want. There we go. Okay, that is what it should have taken us to. Amazon.number, that's what we want. Okay, so just copy that if we didn't remember it. It's going to be the type. Just one slot for this skill. And no, we don't need this second intent. Let's do the help intent, okay? So what's it called? I remember that it's Amazon.help intent. I think that probably could pick on, what does it say here? Built-in intents. Let's see if this link is correct. Help. Overview of the built-in intents. That's what we want. Yep. Implement. Help intent. Amazon.help intent. So I would have capitalized it probably because the slot types are capitalized, but the intents apparently are not capitalized. They're camel case. Okay, so since we just filled in, just changed some words here, I think that the format should be okay, but notice, like if we were to check carefully, begin, end our dictionary, we can think of it as. We have a key called intents, that's required. That's not something we get to choose. And then we have a list of all of our intents, so we began it and closed it. And then here's our first intent, up until that comma. We have one key that's intent. We don't get to choose that, but we do get to choose the value for it. We're going to call our intent the test intent. And then we have one slot for that. And we could have multiple slots. See, this is a list of all the slots that we have. And our first slot's name, we don't get to choose that, but we do get to choose what it's called. And then maybe I'll call it value slot to make it clear that it's a slot, not an intent, and give it a type. We also can choose this, right, if we want to have a custom type. Let's experiment with a custom type. Fine, we're going to have a second slot. Let's add a second slot that is value slot, custom slot, maybe. And this will be number slot instead. And we'll see how to use these in a bit. We're going to call this my custom slot. Is the type. My custom slot type. So if we wanted to do that, we enter the name of it here, and then what are the custom values? Custom val and my value are the two possible values. Let's make it something that we can actually say a little bit easier. Let's give it objects in my room, a lamp. There's a television. There's a coffee. All right, so those are the three values. We'll just have, so what we're going to do here in our skills, we'll make a skill where we say something to Alexa. Maybe we'll do the test intent, and maybe we'll have two slot values that are allowed in the sample utterances, and basically she's just going to repeat back what she heard. Okay, so that's what that'll be for. And so what are the sample utterances for that? So first we have to give the name of our intent. What might someone say in order to invoke this intent? They would say, Alexa, ask what's our skill called? When we call it test skill. To, and then what do we want them to say after that? Repeat. What's our first slot? Our first slot is called number slot. So the first thing that the person is going to say is a number, and custom slot. So that's what we'll do is we'll have, they'll say, Alexa, ask, oh, Alexa, stop. Okay, after they say the wake word, then they're going to say, ask test skill to repeat 10 and coffee. And then the skill will have Alexa repeat that back to us, or the skill repeat that back to us. All right, so that's our only utterance for now. Of course, you could add multiple utterances. We probably, let's see, we don't need, even though we're doing the help intent, we do not need to put any utterances for that because that's a built-in intent. And of course, we don't need to, oh, we do need to add this custom slot type. Yeah, there we go. All right. So now this slot type has three values that she's going to listen for. Now remember, if I say some other sort of object like sunglasses, she certainly hears sunglasses, she will not necessarily map it to one of these words. It will actually be sunglasses. So um, but we'll test that out. Okay, so service endpoint type. This is we're going to use, instead of a custom service endpoint, this is the place where our cloud-based service is, the actual code for our skill. Where is it? It's on AWS Lambda. So we're going to provide the AWS Lambda resource number. So we're going to tie our skill that we just created to this Amazon resource number. We're going to tell it that when somebody calls this skill that we're setting up here, we are going to have it call this Amazon resource number, which is our lambda function. Okay, and likewise, we are going to tell our skill, or excuse me, the lambda function, the name, the ID, the resource number for our of the skill itself. Here's the skill ID. So this number here is coming from the top left up here, and this number that goes here is coming from the top right here. We need to tell uh, the skill and the lambda function about each other. So enable the skill ID verification. Oh, this is nice. So this is new actually, and that's why it's not in the tutorial. I guess they figured that it was so, they required for security. Okay, remember that this function that we're going to write could do something with our Amazon resources, right? It could access some sort of database. I keep saying a database because that's the thing that I've used most often. And because this skill might be able to do that, maybe we've given it permissions to do that, excuse me, because this lambda function can access, say, our databases, our resources, we don't want somebody else other than our Alexa skill to call this lambda function. If we did not somehow tell the lambda function what is allowed to call it, then anybody could call it if they could figure out, how to do so. They would have to, of course, have this resource number. And then they'd have to know how to write a request such that it would make our skill do something, or excuse me, our lambda function do something bad. But it would be possible. So this prevents anybody except for the Alexa skill itself from calling our lambda function. And likewise, this is required, well, to just tell our skill exactly which lambda function to call. Okay, so now we can get back to this. We can add that. That is a trigger. We're going to save the change there. And so this is the inputs, basically, or the things that are allowed to call the test skill. And the test skill is allowed to output to Amazon CloudWatch logs. That was what the permissions that we set were. I said the logs, the basic permissions for that. And the CloudWatch is where we're going to have results of running our skill and seeing if it's successful or not. Okay, so now after we've saved that, and this is already set up, we don't have to do anything there. We can click on the skill itself, and look, we've got a nice little text editor where we can type out the code for our skill. It's already set up so that when this runs, this handler is, you don't have to change this, okay? Just leave it as the default. The function is called lambda handler, and here you see it's going to get two inputs, event and context. Event is the only one we really care about. This is, whenever I say in class, a request. The request comes into our Python function, and we need to return a response. We are going to return some sort of response here, and we're going to create the request. We're going to take in that event, or really the response, or sorry, the request is equal to the event. It's just called something different. So you know what? We can call this request instead, right? And our job is to fill this in so that we get the request and read the request and write a response. Okay. All right, so that's what we're going to want to do. And these have particular formats. We just need to understand those, but we'll look to the documentation for that. All right, so let's finish setting this up. Account linking, no, we are not going to have any user accounts. We're not going to need the person's full address. We're not going to use lists, household lists, like the things, like you can set up a household list so you can tell yourself what to get at the grocery store. We don't need all that. Okay, I think this is all set. Next. All right, so now we're at a place where we can actually test the skill. Notice that this interface down here is going to go away. It's telling us on March 1st, the test simulator beta, this thing that's currently the beta version, is going to replace the stuff down here. And I'll show you both of them, but gosh, I guess actually I won't. I'm not going to show you what this was. It's just a little worse. So we're going to use the test simulator. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, yeah, we're going to allow it to use my microphone. I'm going to, actually, let's pause this recording for a second. Oh my goodness.